The unrealistic beauty standards, hypersexuality, and the exploitative nature of the child beauty pageant circuit is causing a lifetime psychological scarring by forcing unjust ideologies on these children at a very young age. Today, we'll be discussing the immorality of child pageantry and my stance that children should be banned from participating in beauty pageants. We'll be discussing the origins of child pageantry, the mainstream media's normalization of exploitation of children, the ideology of beauty determining self worth, parenthood dictatorship, importance of communication with children, the importance of the freedom of youth, and parents using children to fulfill a sense of achievement. We'll begin talking about the history behind child pageantry. It began with showman P.T. Barnum, who began with beautiful babies in the early 1850s. This is where the exploitation of children actually began, where it normalized these adult-like behaviors, and this exploitation spread like wildfire by the turn of the century, where these small, localized events emerged into these large performances and pageants and parades throughout the United States, with the most notable being the one on Coney Island called the Baby Parade, where participation swelled to over 500,000 spectators watching these young children being paraded across the stage and being judged. This brings us to today, where mainstream media is glorifying and popularizing this child beauty pageant circuit and undermining the severity of child exploitation. We have television shows like Here Comes Honey Boo Boo and Toddlers and Tiaras and Painted Babies, who have attempted to normalize this behavior in children. These shows depict them in revealing clothes and these adult-like performances that are contradictory of what a child's life is normally viewed as. These children are on these stages and on television, but they're still vulnerable, voiceless, and still fragile. They're judged on their personality, but not being allowed to speak, because once they speak, the illusion that they're not children is then broken. I remember seeing these series on television and cringing at the thought of them, these children being objectified and judged over something that they cannot change or shouldn't be worried about even changing, or know if there's something wrong. I was bullied when I was a child, and based solely on my appearance, and it devastated me. But this is a fraction of what these children are enduring on these stages and being judged by adults who are supposed to be guiding them and telling them what's right and what's wrong, and being judged by the entire world. The issue with this child pageantry goes beyond the physical. There is also a mental element that's also being torn from these children, and it's reverberating through them in the sense of mental illness, where these kids are suffering from severe stress, anxiety, eating disorder, body dysmorphia, body shaming, because they've been told that they need to wear makeup and fake wigs and fake teeth, and even had plastic surgery for them to make it to a sense of perfection. And emphasizing this physical perfection put on these young people just further just has diminishes what it is to be naturally beautiful and unique, and can skew their creativity and can have devastating effects on their own development in this crucial age and period in their lives. When it comes to the parents of these child beauty pageant contestants, the parenthood can also become a dictatorship. Now, in parenting, yes, you need to be authoritarian, but there still needs to be room for a child to be able to communicate, and need to have consideration for what the child wants and what's in the child's best interests, and allow the child to communicate and set boundaries, which not only set them up for now, but also in the future, saying what they do or don't want. Forcing a child to do something that satisfies the parent, vices the child, is not parenting. In my childhood, I was frequently forced to participate in speech competitions, which I absolutely did not want to participate in. And even when I did well, my grandmother would still highlight the things that we did wrong. And it was hurtful because I thought I did well and I wanted to be appreciated for how well I did, but those other things were often highlighted, and it didn't make me feel very well. And even when I protested and didn't want to participate, I was often ignored, and it was a bit disheartening not to be able to have a voice about what I could and couldn't do. Um, this brings us to the topic of allowing a kid to be a kid. There's plenty of time for them to be an adult and just a small window for them to be a kid. And these early years are important in a child's, and it sets the basis for their intelligence, their personality, their social behaviors, and the capacity to learn and nurture themselves as an adult. And this self discovery period that they have is essential, and it shouldn't be tainted by judges or people critiquing them at every turn, and plaguing them with these superior expectations. And it can have the opposite effect, and it could lower their ambition and give them a feeling of inadequacy by subjecting them to those things. And it can be difficult. They need to have that room to grow and be creative and explore and have loose inhibitions, and just find ways to build who they are as individuals and not conform. Subjecting these children to this mental strain is what parents often find themselves into because they are suffering from something called achievement by proxy distortion, where they're driven primarily by social and financial gain, and they're not really paying attention to what the child wants. And because they can't differentiate things, they often engage in these risky behaviors and even abuse. And sometimes it causes that change of perspective needs to happen. So, in closing, the beauty pageant circuit is extremely damaging to children that are subjected to it. It's perpetuated by this mainstream media mentality that we have in culture, promotes a faulty ideology that negatively affects children. It provides a space for children to, for their well-being to not be placed at the forefront, and prevents self-discovery, and allows parents to live vicariously through their children, which can be very damaging as well. So I stand by my position that I don't think that children should participate in beauty pageants, and they should allow to be being children. Every parent has that responsibility to protect their child, but society must also take accountability as well for normalizing these behaviors that can have an adverse effect on these children. We have to fight for our children so that they don't have to fight for themselves. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this presentation.